Stormtroopers have become a joke, but I found out why they're so weak. Welcome to Star Wars Uplink. Every now and then, Star Wars honestly completely surprises me. And this happened when I was listening to the audiobook Thrawn Alliances. And it had a little snippet there. It's towards the end of the book, chapter 20, halfway through that chapter. And I'm there listening to it. I'm having a fun time. This obviously isn't my favorite Star Wars book, but it was pretty enjoyable. I like the interactions between Thrawn and Darth Vader. And I feel like it's really going to add some flavor to what we see in Ahsoka. Especially considering that Ahsoka was Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, that has a clear background with Thrawn, all the way back to when the Clone Wars were happening. Thrawn and Anakin work side by side, and then later Thrawn and Vader work side by side. So I hope that that's something that we really get into the weeds with Ahsoka. But now, back to the Stormtroopers. And we have examples continuously of just Stormtroopers getting mowed down, continuing the joke that Stormtroopers are useless. Their aim is horrible. Their whole demeanor in the galaxy is that they are pretty much jokes, right? Well, we see in Andor in particular, we see these more like fearsome Stormtroopers, and in the extended universe of books, Stormtroopers are pretty intense. There are many examples in the books that Stormtroopers are these feared things, and you see a little bit that in, like Mandalorian, a little bit. Definitely some in Andor. Not really much in Obi Wan, but like the main experience that we have with Stormtroopers are against these heroes, these warriors. But the rest of the galaxy, they don't see them as this. They don't see them as these weak things. They see them as these really powerful machines of war. So when we have these moments in the books where, hey, they kind of are like fleshing out the idea of the Stormtrooper and how, no, they aren't just buffoons really in the galaxy. They're these very feared things. Obviously stacked up to, like Anakin or Luke Skywalker or Obi Wan, they aren't as impactful because they're blaster users. And their armor is specifically designed for specific use cases. And the whole thing with the aim is something completely different. They joke about this, especially in the live action stuff, but it's not really there in the books. So there's definitely this like separation between what's in the books and what's in the TV shows and the movies when it comes to Stormtroopers. But there I was having a grand old time listening to this audiobook, and Mark Thompson's awesome. Fantastic audiobook, highly recommend it. But there's this little line towards the end, like I was saying, and this is it.
The First Legion made a point of keeping their armor in perfect condition, and as a result, it was usually able to block almost anything except a point-blank shot from a seriously and probably illegally enhanced blaster.
This blew my mind. Honestly, we've all had the jokes of like, why do they even wear armor if it's going to do nothing? And in some cases, it does something. But this is a great example of some of the smaller features that doesn't really get mentioned in the movies or the TV shows, really. And it's there in the books where we have these characters which are playing around with their weapons, modifying them, trying to make them as impactful and as powerful as possible. But we don't see that, especially in the TV shows and the movies. It's just not there. It's not spoken of, and it's not really even mentioned a whole lot. Because when you look at someone like Han Solo, he has heavily modified his DL-44. Basically, every single person in Star Wars has a heavily modified weapon that they're carrying around, which is why they are so impactful. And that's honestly why the rebellion is so effective and so scary. This is also a clear tie into imperialism that Star Wars has always had when they talk about the political side of Star Wars. Some of the influences that Star Wars had when it was written in the first place. You have the very structured, very uniform, we're going to do things by the books empire. And then you have the ragtag group of people who are working at taking this very unified force, very consistent and structured army to their knees. Because of this can-do attitude, because of this attitude of like, hey, I know these people are more structured than we are, but that can be our advantage. That can be our strength in the galaxy, because we can say, hey, I'm going to go talk this smuggler down the street, and he's going to be able to adjust my weapon to make it even more effective against the Stormtroopers. And it might be illegal. If I get caught with this, hey, they're probably going to throw me in jail. But as we see in Andor, they're probably already going to throw you in jail. So, it's worth the trade-off to say, hey, let's do something a little illegal here and, take down an empire. Because that's how you do it. That's how you make an impact against this very structured force, is you go the opposite direction. You zig when they zag and vice versa. And this is something that I really love when we look at the Star Wars universe. There's so many different explanations of why things are the way they are, and it's not always there on the screen. Now, yes, would I like to see more of that actually on the screen? Yeah, of course. I would love to see more of that exploration into why Stormtroopers look like little babies than they really are in the rest of the galaxy. But again, we're seeing these movies through the eyes of these heroes who are very good at what they do. So yeah, they're going to be more effective against the Stormtroopers than the average Joe would be with the average weapon or what have you. And that's all based around adjustments they've made to their weapons. But let me know what you think. Do you think this is the right explanation on why the Stormtroopers are so weak in Star Wars, or do you think it's something else? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, may the Force be with you.